Hi, Misha here, and this model just came in, so it felt like a good time to do a fleet overview of the Dominion. I've done them for a couple of different eras in Starfleet, as well as for the Romulans, and I will be doing for others like Klingons and Cardassians. And originally I was going to do Cardassians and Dominion all together, but I decided there's just enough of each. Yeah, use 2 short videos as opposed to 2 or 1 real long one. So the one that just came in today is the Karemma Merchant Freighter. Then we have the most iconic ship of the Dominion, and the one that we pretty much just saw exclusively for the first little bit, the Jem'Hadar attack ship, fighter, patrol ship, what have you. Then we have the one that came into use with the Dominion War in the Alpha Quadrant, the Jem'Hadar battlecruiser, much larger scale ship. And then we go even bigger with the Jem'Hadar battleship or dreadnought, which we see after a while in the Dominion War. And then our last ship, we have the Breen cruiser, which we see towards the end of the Dominion War, although the Breen themselves were introduced earlier. So the Dominion is the controlling power in the Gamma Quadrant. So I'm going to talk about each ship a bit and then kind of rank the models like I do in these. I'm also kind of going to point out something once we get into this a bit about how the Federation really did antagonize the Dominion in a certain way. They certainly weren't innocent. But the one that came in today, the Karemma ship, this was actually one I was looking forward to, as I've said multiple times. I like that the Eaglemoss collection does the freighters and the secondary ships, and I always thought this was a cool one. It is definitely a cargo ship, a merchant ship. It has minimal weapons. The Karemma are part of the Dominion, but they are authorized with permission to trade with outside races. We first encounter them at the end of Season 2, beginning of Season 3, when the Ferengi make overtures trying to get Tullaberry wine or something trade going on, and yada yada. They report to the Vorta, who of course report to the Founders, but they don't know the Founders part. Interestingly, they also manufacture the torpedoes that the Jem'Hadar use, and it's all in the episode Starship Down. They seem to be kind of very similar and also very different than the Ferengi. They are businessmen, but they also have a very strong code of ethics. They like a, quote, fair profit only, and they like delivering a good product. So it's one of the civilian races we see from the Dominion. We also see this ship in a modified form used by the Bajorans at the beginning of Season 7 of Deep Space Nine, but it's different enough we can assume that it's not supposed to be the same ship. The Jem'Hadar fighter or attack ship, oh, by the way, specs, sorry, falling down on my job. The Karemma ship isn't small. It's about 380 meters, but most of that is for freight, transport, cargo, because the crew is only 24. And they would seem to have minimal weaponry. And they are warp capable, but who knows the speed. Anyway, now moving on. The Jem'Hadar fighter was the most common and really the only Jem'Hadar ship for Season 3 and 4. It's kind of analogous to a Klingon bird of prey, even in the sense that its size is a bit hard to estimate. 110 to 150 meters. You can say 125 just to split the difference. We do know that it has a standard crew of 42 Jem'Hadar plus 1 Vorta. We also know that sometimes founders travel on these. It is decidedly a warship or a patrol ship, kind of a police enforcement ship. It has very good sensors, so much so that they can even detect cloaked ships with a bit of doing. Primary energy weapons are polaron beams. Again, it also has Karemma torpedoes. We also see it with something more like a disruptor a few times. It's quick and maneuverable, but not quite as agile as, say, a runabout, but more so than a lot of larger starships. It's very Spartan inside, as you know, from the Jem'Hadar. No view screen. They use it's basically a virtual reality type interface things on their heads. Very, very Spartan interior. The only place it really isn't as good as most Federation ships, warp speed. It can get up to about 9.5, 9.6, but it has a cruise speed of about warp 7. And it seems like the Dominion have been using these ships along with the Jem'Hadar for a very long time, centuries or even millennia. Their technology seems to be a bit static. And these things are mass-produced, much like the Jem'Hadar and even Vorta themselves. Again, since they don't need it, there's no sleeping quarters, no wreck deck, no mess hall. One would assume that the Vorta would have the only quarters on the ship. Once the Dominion War kicked off, in Season 5, we first see this ship, the battle cruiser. Now, the little fighter is kind of analogous to something like the Defiant, or, as I said, the bird of prey. This, however, is a big ship, about 760 meters. So, a little bit longer than, say, a Sovereign. And they say it's at least twice as powerful as a Galaxy class. We see it using, at least as primary weapons, a powerful beam, most likely polaron. Also, it has one forward-facing, very large multi-tube torpedo launcher, so it can shoot out a big spread. So it seems to be very forward-oriented, very attack-oriented. We really don't see much about these. They're just to give the Dominion something big and threatening. And so this is kind of their capital ship. It can support a crew of up to 2,500, including Jem'Hadar troops. So quite large. And this is a good time. As I said, the Dominion, well, the big bads of Deep Space Nine, and a very good big bad, and in a lot of ways better than the Borg, are a bit of a sympathetic villain. We know that the Founders are the way they are because they were persecuted and even killed by solids, so they made the Dominion for safety. That's the Gamma Quadrant. The Federation, Klingons, others started going into it because of the wormhole. Okay, fine. It wasn't like there was a beacon there. But very quickly, they would go more than a few light years into the Gamma Quadrant and encounter Dominion space. Now, the Dominion did destroy or capture several Alpha Quadrant, Beta Quadrant ships, But then at the end of Season 2, they gave them a list of the ships and told them to basically stay out of their territory. Even after Cisco was rescued and they lost the USS Odyssey, a Galaxy class, in Season 3 and 4, did the Federation stay out? Hell no. More than a few captain's logs start off with, well, we know we're not supposed to be here in the Gamma Quadrant, but we can't help ourselves. We're exploring this or that. Okay, they told you not to. More than a few times, Federation officers interfered with Dominion planets. And the Karemma being a great example, even the Karemma admitted they weren't supposed to be trading or dealing with the Federation, but they did it anyway. So they were actually inciting disobedience, revolt, rebellion within the lawful government that existed in a region of space that the Federation had no claim to and never had any claim to. So they were tweaking the Dominion's nose. Now, to be fair, the Dominion had operatives on Earth and Kronos, most likely Romulus as well. Well, we know they did eventually because of the commander being a changeling, but anyway. But we don't know that they would have done anything except, provide intelligence if the Alpha Quadrant powers had been content to just basically never go through the wormhole again. Would the Dominion have been content to leave them alone? Now, of course, probably not, because villains, but it's worth saying that the Federation was acting very arrogantly in Season 3 and 4 of Deep Space Nine. Anywho, Season 5 is when we find out that Dukat has been in conversation with the Dominion and pulls Cardassia first into an alliance and then into a full member state of the Dominion. And then in Season 6, or at the end of Season 5 rather, the war itself begins. So we first encounter the battleship here in the year 2373. In 2374 we first see this ship, the battlecruiser, excuse me. In 2374 we first see the battleship. This is a huge one. It is said to be twice the size of a galaxy, which it was, around 1,500 meters. Actually more than twice the size, really. And 3 times as powerful. We know that it has at least 10 weapons banks, probably even more. At 1,500 meters long, it would have a very large crew, at least ability to carry a lot of troops. Basically, it could be a mobile command center, mobile station in a way. Again, with its only real deficiency being somewhat slow speed. It seems like it likes to cruise at about warp 6. I'm sure it's capable of faster, but that seems to be maybe the one shortcoming of the Dominion, or slow travel speeds compared, but still fast enough. I mean, the Jem'Hadar are clones, and the founders lived for centuries or millennia, so yeah. This is one of the few new technology pieces we seem to see, and it's uncertain if this is a Gamma Quadrant or maybe even an Alpha Quadrant design. We know that the Jem'Hadar were especially bred for the Alpha Quadrant combat, so it's possible this design was either new or maybe it was just an old design that they only build when they really need a biggin. I don't know. We see it originally in the episode Valiant, and then we see it a couple more times in Season 7. We see it in a total of 3 episodes. So it's there, but it never really does a whole lot besides clobber the Valiant that one time. Just a big, intimidating ship. It's kind of their answer to ships like the Dideridex, or the Negvar, or the Sovereign. Just powerful, and probably the command post for an entire fleet. This is also only the second model in Deep Space Nine, only to be made as a CGI. The ones before were all made originally as physical models, although CGI versions were made later for the episodes. As the Dominion War Season 6 and 7 went on, they went to CGI for a myriad of reasons. And then our final ship, the Breen cruiser, sometimes called the Gortane or Gorton by Beta Canon. The Breen are an Alpha Quadrant power, but they allied with the Dominion, much like the Cardassians, in 2375. And the Dominion were interested in their friendship because they had a new energy-dampening weapon that totally wrecked the Allies at the Second Battle of Chintoka, pretty much frying the systems of Federation and Klingon ships alike. They also used their advantage to sneak attack Earth. But once they used their energy weapon on a large scale, it was almost a one-shot deal. The Federation and Klingons would quickly adapt. Nevertheless, we actually know from that season that the Dominion was fitting older Jem'Hadar ships with the Breen weapon. We see them installing it. This is a relatively small ship, about 330 meters. Very asymmetrical. It's said to be kind of bio-organic, mechanical, half-grown, very odd shape. We know it has at least 3 forward-facing torpedo launchers. Seems to be very fast, but maybe not as heavily armored, so it's more of a strike craft. The Breen themselves are intentionally mysterious. We know that they've had problems with the Cardassians in the past. For example, Ducat's daughter, Xiao, was captured by them in 2366, and so there's not a great deal of love between the Breen and the Cardassians, which is an interesting drama point in Season 7, and one of the key reasons why the Cardassians end up turning away from the Dominion. We see really how the Dominion treats new allies. They tend to smooge them originally, and then once they have them in their thrall, then they start to show their true colors. I'm not saying that they're nice people, the Dominion, but they're not truly barbaric. And they're not like the Borg in the sense that they assimilate. Pretty much if you follow their rules under their directorate, you're left alone. But if you break the rules, they will punish severely. But again, I think it was a really good villain. Deep Space Nine in Season 1 desperately needed a villain other than the Cardassians. And the show, the way it was set up, did really well in a serial format with, continuing arcs and things. But they still had one-off episodes. It was a good balance, frankly. So, okay, we've got 5 ships here. How would I rank them in terms of model quality and just, how I like them? Well, I want to say one thing before I start ranking these. I like them all. So there aren't any that I dislike. I also like that with the Dominion ships, they really went another direction. They didn't just do the green bird theme, which seems to be a rut they got stuck in. I don't know, they used it for Klingons, Romulans, and even Orions occasionally. So it's just, I'm glad they went to a different aesthetic, more of a bug style for the Jem'Hadar. More of something that looks like my cat chewed it up for the Breen, and a relatively conventional, but still, I think the Karemma ship they made as cool as you can make a cargo ship. So, okay, with that said, who would be my least favorite? Having to pick. I'm going to go with the Breen. And that's weird to say because I actually really like this ship. I think, considering the complexity of the model, I mean, it has kind of a basic T shape, but then it's got a bunch of stuff. Eaglemoss did a great job of getting it in such a small scale. It's even very heavy. You would expect something like this to be light and very plastic. No, it's extremely heavy. It's actually mostly metal, believe it or not. But they were a secondary race. We only got the one ship. It is a little weird. And I always like ships that kind of fit within fleets. And so, yeah. That'll be my... If I had to just, chunk one, I'd probably go first. Second, number 4. Moving on. This one even surprises me a bit. I'm going to say the battleship. And it surprises me because this is one I was super excited to get. Because very few, if any, model makers have done the battleship. Heck, most people mix up the battle cruiser and the battleship. The thing is, it's nearly just an overgrown battle cruiser. I mean, it's a different ship, don't get me wrong. But it's very much like the battle cruiser, just larger. And when they originally were going to release this, or at least, it was said on the wiki page about it, so take that as you will, they had talked about putting it in the specials line. And I was recording a video with the scimitar, earlier. And this is one I think really benefits from being in the special scale, the medium, not XL, but kind of just large scale. These typically are, 7 to 9 inches, depending on the model. Now, their XL scales will go anywhere from 9 inches to 12. But these little ones typically are 5 inches, give or take. And I just think when they decided to release this in the standard line, they did the ship a disservice because being massive is part of its identity. And I know they've done bigger ships, at least in universe, bigger ships in this scale, like for example the Voth ship or even the Dideridex. But somehow they don't quite suffer as much. Another one I kind of wish they'd done in a larger scale is the Negvar. Maybe one day they will do a special edition of the Negvar. So I think, considering how small it is for a 1,500 meter ship, they did a very good job. It is very heavy diecast for the most part, so it's got a high metal content, which always makes me happy. But yeah, a little bit small scale. Next, I'm gonna go with the Jem'Hadar fighter, or Bug, as it's often nicknamed. Mostly, and really only because we've gotten this model several times before, not from Eaglemoss, but from other vendors. Heck, even Micro Machines did a Jem'Hadar attack ship, bug, patrol ship, what have you. It's a very well done model, it really is. The only thing, these kind of fins in the back, the carapace wing looking things, mine came in unglued. I just popped them back on and glued them, they're fine. But they are plastic. I kind of wish they were metal. I think they could have made those metal. It is a little... I mean, it's got good metal in the middle, but I think they could have gone a little more heavy duty with it. Again, it would be incredibly weird not to have it in the collection, so I'm glad we do. And it is my number 3, so it's middle of the road, but yeah, you know. But it's certainly an iconic ship. And a cool design. And we get to see quite a bit of the interior and stuff. We see this even, we know these can land on planets and things and take off. And we do get to know the ship really well, which I always like it when we get to see the insides and hear about the specs and things of alien ships. It's just cool. And they tried to make this one alien. Number 2, and it might just be because it's my newest one, but I'm going to give the Karemma ship. Again, I think it's just cool they did it. No one else really has. I think it is a neat design. I like kind of secondary support ships. They really make the universe feel alive. And having this shows that the Dominion's not just a military, that it has a culture. It has trade, it has commerce, and that it makes the Gamma Quadrant feel lived in. Yeah, it's got a pretty high metal content. The whole central part is metal, with only the sticky uppy bits and nacelles being plastic. I also wonder, Karemma, if you take the E out, it's karma. I wonder if that was telling, yeah, like the Dominion would be the Federation's karma for their arrogance. What do you think? But no, I just think it's neat that we have it. And that's actually why I waited to do this video until the ship came in. Boy, I was so happy it wasn't broken. Again, the box it came in was a little thrashed. And the other model in the box with it had one damaged part, but I've already fixed it. But yeah, cool ship. And it's a good size too, considering how relatively small the ship was. And of course that leaves number 1 as the battle cruiser. It pretty much checks all the boxes I like. It's an iconic enough ship. It's not like a one-off ship. We see these quite a bit in the Dominion War period. Not up close a whole lot. We don't get to see a whole lot of them aside from the bridge, but oh well. It's a large ship, but not so large like the battleship that it suffers from being in the smaller scale. I think it works fine. Still plenty of detail. It has a lot of metal content. Even these are metal. So the only plastic is these pods and part of the engines. Part of it is metal. So yeah, it's actually quite weighty. We haven't had a ton of models of this. I think a couple have been released, but it's not near as well known as the Jem'Hadar bug. And moreover, I just think it's cool looking. I like the kind of mantis look, the pincers, yeah, it looks like a warship. And whereas the battleship is just ridiculously big, this is big, but it's still kind of in that realm of believability and usability. And I think in Season 5 we definitely needed a new Dominion Jem'Hadar ship. This has been in the collection for a while. It's a relatively early release. The Jem'Hadar bug is even earlier. It was actually a very early release. But the Karemma ship and the battleship are quite new. So there you have my rankings. What do you think? Which ones do you like? Or do you hate them all? I think they're neat. For me, these are all ships that I really didn't know what they looked like until I had these little models, so it was nice to get a good idea. And Deep Space Nine being just a really, really good series. Alrighty, folks, I'm going to call it. Appreciate you tuning in. Feel free to comment, and if you could, like, share, and subscribe. This is Misha, and I will catch you very soon next time.